Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And the match we've been waiting for months will finally take place this weekend. The 100th test between South Africa and New Zealand, billed as the fiercest rivalry in world rugby, All Blacks versus Springboks. It will finally kick off at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, South African Standard Time in Australia. And quite a lot of changes to the New Zealand side, but for the South Africans, keeping quite a lot of continuity, but a move away from the 6-2 split and the bomb squad sort of idea that we've sort of come to know the Springboks. But coming off the back of a big loss against Australia, I think if there was ever an occasion, if there was ever a team, if there was ever a match that we could see the Springboks try and lift themselves up, it should be this one. You know, they are a side which always tends to sort of lift their game when they play against New Zealand, apart from that 57-0 that we saw a couple of years ago. But a lot of people are writing off the Springboks, and they'll enjoy that. In fact, they'll enjoy walking into this game as with a bit of an underdog's tag. And New Zealand, you know, with the format they've been showing, are expected to walk this game. But I do think it's going to be a lot closer than what a lot of people are saying. And you know what? The Springboks need to react. They've had two sort of poor performances. They've backed the same players. And these players now need to sort of reward the coaching staff with the continued faith they have in them. Because if they don't, then it's just, you know, it's a case of why are you selecting players who sort of struggle with form and are not making much of a difference. So a couple of players who are under the microscope and do need to try and sort of put their hand up and make a big difference. Before you look at the side, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live for a number of United Rugby Championship games this weekend, as well as the Rugby Championship. So turn your notifications on so that you get a notification whenever we do go live. And this also starts tomorrow night with Lions taking on Zebra in the first United Rugby Champions game. That starts at 6:30 South African Standard Time. We'll be live for that. And then pretty much live from then on until the end of Sunday. It's just going to be back-to-back watch-alongs. It's going to be a lot of fun. Some new faces on the channel as well, so please do welcome in there. But in terms of this game, at the end of the day, in terms of winning the Rugby Championship, the Springboks have to go back-to-back bonus point victories against New Zealand and deny them a bonus point at all. It's a huge ask. It's almost an unrealistic ask. They have made their lives pretty much impossible in terms of trying to win the championship by going down to Australia. But at the end of the day, their fate is in their own hands. They know that they are basically playing a semi-final where they have semi-final with conditions. And if they manage to do that, then they're playing a final with those same conditions. The mandate is very, very clear. You've got to score 3 more tries than New Zealand and ensure they don't come within 7 points. But if you do score 3 more tries than them, should take care of that. So pretty much that's the mandate, to go out, beat them by more than 3 tries. That's what has to happen so that, we get a bonus point win and they don't get any points at all. In terms of the sides that we'll take to the park, we'll start with the South African side. Siya Kolisi will obviously lead the side. It's an unchanged front row. Trayvon Yekani has been brought off to very good effect off the bench, but is being back to start next week or on the weekend. Bongi Mbonambi's next to him, as well as Frans Malherbe. Frans Malherbe sort of anchoring the scrum last weekend. I thought it was a pretty solid front row performance. We didn't see too much scrum dominance from Australia, and I thought we were fairly solid in the front row last weekend, and hopefully we can try and sort of impose ourselves a bit more this weekend. But I think Trayvon Yekani is playing with a lot of confidence. Bongi Mbonambi maybe not playing at his best, but he's still a very solid player. He does the basics very, very well. And then Frans Malherbe is very good in the defense and very important in terms of organizing the defense. Eben Etzebeth gets a new lock partner in Loet Dialgo, who has recovered from his concussion and replaces Marvin Orie in the 23, a very, very big name back in the side. And then the loose trio is there is a change with Franco Mostert being rotated due to having played so many minutes. You've got to take your hat off for Franco Mostert. He's come in, he's played full 80s almost every single game. When Steph Toy got the injury, he had to move to flank, and he did it very well. He was sort of playing games of blindside and then moving back to the lock. So he's put in a really big shift, has Franco Mostert, probably been one of the best Springbok players this year. But he does earn a bit of a rest this weekend and will start off the bench. So Siya Kolisi, Dwayne Moon will be joined by Kwagga Smith, who offers a lot of mobility, a lot of pace, and I think he'll be very important in terms of scramble defense. With New Zealand being a side which is so good at turning defense into attack, having somebody with the pace of Kwagga Smith could be a very big asset. And obviously, he will also be there to try and cause a lot of problems at the breakdown. Hopefully, we'll see a bigger performance from Dwayne. For me, I thought Siya Kolisi was very solid in a losing effort last weekend. But the backline is the one that's under pressure. They are completely unchanged. Faf de Klerk, Andre Pollard, a lot of questions about them, but they do retain their spot in the squad. Andre Pollard hopefully will try and be good off the tee, but there are options off the bench if need be. The two wings, Makazole Mapimpi and Spurn Corsi, were sort of doing more off-the-ball work last weekend, especially the likes of Spurn Corsi. I thought his kick chasing was very good. He made the aerial game very competitive. And then Makazole Mapimpi, we need to try and get him some more space out wide, let him use that pace, which has become so sort of iconic. And then Damon Delende and Lekanya a little bit quiet last weekend, didn't do much wrong. They made all their tackles, didn't really manage to get over the advantage line as much as we'd like. And I personally would like to see more sort of ball into the hands of Lekanya who's got the ability to put the likes of a Spur Nkosi, Makazole Mapimpi, or Billy LaRue into some space and try and sort of, open up defensive lines. And then Billy LaRue is another name who's sort of under quite a lot of pressure. He does keep his side, or a spot in the side, and he'll be under quite a lot of pressure to try and perform this weekend. Off the bench, Malcolm Marx, Steven Kitsoff, and Vincent Koch will be the reserve front row to try and add a bit of an impact. Franco Mostert will come off the bench. He obviously can cover lock as well as blindside, so you can make two loose chair replacements. And then Marco van Staden will cover the flank as well. So you'd like to have Vincent Koch, Malcolm Marx, and van Staden, even Kitsoff as well, coming off the bench. Nice sort of players over the ball that can sort of create some turnovers and stuff like that. So some very nice players be able to come off the bench. The 5-3 split means that Alton Yankees joins the bench, as well as Frans Steyn, and they're with Herschel Yankees. I think Alton Yankees, somebody who he brings a lot of attacking attributes. And if you need to chase the game, if you want to try and score a couple of late tries, he's the best attacking fly half in the squad at the moment. And we've seen how often sort of operate next to Andre Pollard, who can sometimes shift into inside centre to very good effect, which is what happened in New Zealand previously. And then Frans Steyn with that very big boot, I think that's probably what this box will use to try and capitalise the most. If you're thinking of 50-22s, if you're thinking of 55-metre penalties and stuff like that, Frans Steyn gives you that option, and he's a very solid player, lots of experience off the bench as well. In terms of New Zealand, they have made 8 changes. All 3 Barretts are in the starting lineup. The front row that will be taking on the likes of Inyakane Banambi and Malherbe will be Joe Moody, Cody Taylor, and Nepo Leolala. Obviously, Joe Moody brings a lot of experience, as does Cody Taylor. So it should be a really interesting sort of front row battle. That first sort of couple of scrums will be a massive part of the game. If the Springboks want to try and have a go, and they want to try and get a win this weekend, they need to dominate up front. We've talked about the fact that physically New Zealand haven't maybe been as tested this year as they the Boks probably can test them. The Boks physically are probably more physical than in Australia, more physical than in Argentina, more physical than in Fiji. So far. So that's the one sort of area where the Boks can really try and sort of say, are you up for it? And look, 9 times out of 10, New Zealand are up for it, but I think it's probably the one area where they haven't been as tested as the others. In terms of the second row, you've got Brody Retallick, who comes back into the side, former World Player of the Year, and he joins Scott Barrett in the second row. The loose trio, should be a very interesting loose trio battle. Artie Severe captains the side in the number 7 jumper, Luke Jacobson, the number 8, and then you've got Akira Awani at number 6. Very nice player. He's sort of rising through the ranks and sort of making that jersey his own at the moment. The back line, there's no Aaron Smith or Richie Mwanga, but that doesn't mean there's no drop in quality, because you've got the likes of TJ Perinara and Bowden Barrett, who's won the World Player of the Year 2 years in a row previously. Fat de Klerk talked about the fact that even with no Aaron Smith, he said they've got so much quality, so much depth that there's no sort of drop in quality, that they can do the job even without Aaron Smith. And then you look at the rest of the back line, you've got George Bridge and Will Jordan, lots of pace and lots of good finishing. Rico Ione will be in the centres, and he joins David Havili, and him and Damon Delinde should be one of the sort of big battles of the weekend. And then Geordie Barrett at full back. Off the bench for the All Blacks, the front row, we will see Samasoni Takahawa and as the reserve hooker. We've then got Carl Tuanakuafe at loose, and then Ofa Tuangafasi in the tighter. So that should be a really interesting battle when they come off to try and take on, the Springbok front row, which has mostly this year come on and managed to change games and become very competitive. The other replacements for New Zealand are Patrick Tupolatu, Ethan Blackadder. Should be quite a nice. It was also a nice player to bring on. I think that Van Staden versus Blackadder battle should be quite interesting in the last stages of the game. Then you've got Brad Webber, the very exciting Damien McKenzie, and Quinn Tupaoe, who will come on towards the end of the game. Damien McKenzie is a very nice player to be able to bring on off the bench. I think very interesting. First of all, where he comes into play is obviously he can play at full back, he can play at number 10, which is where he played last weekend. But you've got a very attacking player in the likes of Damien McKenzie, who in the number 2 jersey is more sort of a 10 replacement than 15. And you've got Alton Yankees come off the bench. So we've got two players who are, a bit smaller in size, very attacking nature, can sort of, create something out of nothing. And that should be quite interesting as the game sort of opens up towards the latter stage, to have 2 very attacking natured players or playmakers coming onto the park and sort of trying to get the ball throwing around. So it should make for a very interesting watch. Let me know what your score predictions are down in the comments below. Do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.